head of school, Mr. Atish Chand, the school president, Mr. Balwant Singh, members of school committee, other heads of school present here in this room, senior officials from the Ministry of Education, teachers, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to you all, Nisambula Vinaka. It's always a pleasure to visit a school, and I'm delighted to be here. The purpose of my visit entails, number one, to inspect the COVID safety protocols at the school and discuss the school's preparedness for the reopening. I'm also here to hand over the items that we received from the Korean Embassy under special grant assistance. I will be handing over PPEs, which we have received from the private sector. And I'm also delighted to have separate meeting with the head of school and the management team, and my favorite, having a Kalanwa session with the teachers. So this is the purpose of my visit today. Unfortunately, the students are not in. We can't see students in the compound, we can't see students in the classroom, but I'm sure they will be back very soon. We had opened the schools on 4th of January, and it operated for just a week, and after 1 week we had to close the schools simply because of TC Cody, and then we had lingering bad weather for a couple of days, and that last weekend, if you recall, we had this eruption of volcano in Tonga that also caused a major disruption. A ministerial team left this morning for Lau and Moala because these are the two places that has been affected to some extent by the eruption. 2 schools were flooded by the tsunami water, and there are signs of other, or you can say the adverse effects of ash in the surrounding, and therefore Water Authority as well as the minister responsible for water is in that area to conduct technical assessment of water quality and other things that needs to be done. And it is for this reason that I said that the final announcement for the reopening of schools will be made on Friday, that is tomorrow, because we'll be able to get some feedback from the team, and once we receive the feedback, we'll be able to make an informed decision. Already you have heard from the Minister of Waterways that there is tendency of acid rain at this moment, and that is because of the sulfur content that we have in the ash, and when it rains, then obviously it becomes acidic, and the water test that was done, based on that result, the advice was issued by the Minister for Waterways, and he has also advised that all water that you use needs to be covered, particularly the tanks or open sources where you store this water needs to be covered. So that is really the reason as to why we want to wait for the all this information before we make the final decision. You had received the students from 4th of January, and the students were delighted to be back in class. If I look at the statistics or the data that we collected during that week, there were 67% students around Fiji who attended classes. So if 67% students attended classes, that means only 36% were not in the classroom, or they were not in a school. Yet, yet we hear negative publicity that the school should be closed. And today I want to question, why should the schools be closed when the borders are open, supermarkets are open, bars are open, gyms are open. Basically, all commercial activities are open. There is no lockdown. People are going to work, and the only thing, unfortunately, the call is being made is the closure of schools. And that is really not making sense. There are concerns raised that the children will be exposed to COVID. But ample research shows that the immunity of our children are much stronger. If that was not the case, then the WHO would have announced that the children should be vaccinated first before the adults. That did not happen, right? So the announcement was that 60 plus should be vaccinated first, and then the other age group. In other words, all the adults had to be vaccinated first before our children. And that's a clear indication. Again, based on data that we have from the Ministry of Health, we don't have any severe cases. Children with severe cases admitted in the hospital because of COVID-19. We don't have any case of a child admitted in ICU because of COVID-19. We don't have that statistics. And schools worldwide are opening. Look, we do understand, and we respect the decision of parents. Those parents who do not wish to send their children to school, we respect that. We respect that. But we cannot close the school for 67% of our parents who want to send their children to school. So our schools will be open. We'll make sure the schools are open. And the choice to send the children to school lies with the parents. And when we open the schools, at least the children will have access to their teachers. They'll be able to contact you, they can come to school. Some of them may want to drop in just to collect their worksheet or just to discuss a particular topic. But the schools will remain open. I mean, think about those children who come from a fragile family, a family that is not able to look after a child, and the child goes through faces number of challenges in a home environment. If that child comes to school, that child will have friends to talk to. He or she will forget those sufferings, and the teachers will be there to help the child. So that's when it becomes important for a marginalized children to be back in school. If we keep our children out of school, the tendency is that some of them will not return to school. So we need to open up schools and get our children in. Again, there is discussion about social distancing, that because some schools have more students in a classroom and the classrooms are overcrowded, so how are you going to maintain 2-meter distance? And I want to pose this question again. When we are in the supermarket, when we are in the municipal markets, near bus stand, when we attend weddings, we attend other functions, to what extent 2-meter distancing is observed? There are layered approach. we have got multiple prevention measures that needs to work together to give that level of protection. It doesn't mean that we don't have social distancing of 2 meters. That's it. A person will catch COVID-19. Right, so we need to have multiple approaches or safety measures in place. And that includes the temperature checking. And with temperature checking, if someone, the temperature shows that someone has a temperature of above 37.5 degrees, then obviously you are not going to allow that person in. Then the sanitizing, hand washing, we can see cross ventilation in this classroom with fans available. So these are some of the measures that are in place. For social distancing, to offset that, cross ventilation works and the fans work. Similar preventions are put in place in other countries, depending upon which country you pick. Mainly in European, in overseas, I would say some of the overseas countries, they have multi-storied building where classrooms, which is running as a school. In fact, from outside, when you see this building, you'll never know it's a school. In those classrooms, they have to seal the windows, and the windows are sealed for safety reasons. So there is no ventilation, no cross ventilation as what we see. So in that situation, they got to have air purifiers. So they have to invest a lot more money to ensure that air circulates. But in Fiji's situation, the way our schools are built and the fact that the schools are built in such a way that we don't have too many parallel buildings where the corridors are small and therefore there is no cross ventilation. It is not built that way. And let's not forget that schools stand in a massive, you can say in a massive compound or a area, land size. I'm referring to the land size. Most schools are not congested. There's ample space around the school. So these are some of the good features that we see in a school. But I would like to thank the head of school, the teachers, and the school management committee for the very good application or implementation of COVID safe protocol. I have gone through the protocol myself, and I'm very impressed from the point of entry till I reached this room. Every aspect of the protocol was followed. So thank you for doing that. Again, while visiting the classroom, we can see that there is evolution in the way our classrooms are changing. There were days, or you can, if you can recall, the classrooms did not have tiles, did not have fan, did not have smart television, which I see in this school. And I also noticed large number of computers in the computer room. So these are some of the changes that we are seeing in a school setting. And these changes are there because the government has eased the burden of the school management committee. This school was built by the community, and the community had to raise money individually by holding other functions. They raised this money to build this school. And today I want to thank the founders of this school, and I also want to pay my deepest respect to the former and current school management committee for the good work that you are doing. I also like to take this opportunity to thank the teachers. Most of our teachers have been working around the clock, trying to be in touch with the students, providing the worksheets. Some of you were helping the government and particularly Ministry of Health in the vaccination data verification. Some were also helping the Ministry of Health in contact tracing initially, and even managing the quarantine centers. So teachers came in and did all this good work, and I always say our teachers are the COVID warriors, and you are extremely important when it comes to the education delivery. So I will be having a separate meeting with the teachers, and we'll be talking about many other issues when we meet face to face. Today's visit is to hand over some of the items that we received from the Korean Embassy. And I would like to thank the Korean Embassy for the generous donation that they have made to a tune of around $500,000, where they have brought number of resources for various schools. For this school, I will be handing over 2 sets of industrial art tools and 30 sets of agriculture tools. Plus, I will also be giving the PPEs that we received from the private sector. And I'm encouraging the head of school to please enter this item in the school inventory record so that this item stays in the school. And proper care needs to be undertaken. Before I conclude, I would like to simply say that opening of school is everyone's responsibility. It's not just Ministry of Education. It's a societal responsibility. The parents, the teachers, the community, the neighbors, the service providers, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, we all need to be together to ensure that our school is open for our children. And we need to be focused on that, as I've said earlier on, that there are more harm when we don't open the school. But if we open the school, there will be a lot more good that can happen to a child. And if a child is kept away from the school for a longer period of time, there is a huge learning loss. And we cannot continue to do that. Just imagine what will happen when this particular person enters the workforce after many, many years. And we won't be able to recover the losses that has incurred as of now. And we won't be able to recover that loss. But the only thing we can do is do our best, and we have to do our best for our children. Our children are our future, and we need to work for our future. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, School Management Committee, the head of school, for your warm welcome. Vinaka Vakalevu, thank you very much. Dhanyawad.
Dear teachers, if you wish to have a
Hold it,